Hello and welcome to Spurs South View Quiz TV. It's me, Marlon, hosting tonight, and it's the match reaction. It has finished Brighton 4, Spurs 2, right? And the one thing I like about all my guests tonight is all of them are really positive, right? So this is going to be really interesting because I'm the negative one out of all of them, right? But first of all, hopefully, to everyone out there, I hope you've had especially everyone in the UK and America and everyone like that celebrating Christmas. I hope you've had a good Christmas. But Spurs have obviously let us down tonight. But let's get into the reaction. It's not about me, right? I'm going to be asking the questions, but let me bring out the guest. First of all, a good welcome to you. Ian, are you well?
How can you ask me that after that? And I love it because I am a glass half full man, and you know that.
Yeah.
And I'm a big disciple of Ange, and I've loved what he's done so far.
No, and that's why I said I was so happy when the guest I've got on tonight. This is probably the best one.
I think this is one of those games. Let's try and look at the positives. This is one of those games.
Ian, before you start, let me bring out the others first before you carry on.
Yeah.
You want to get in there, right?
Yeah.
Next guest, Tops. You've had a positive attitude on everything. Hope you are well, my man.
Yeah, I'm good, man. I'm good. Thank you for having me on. Merry Christmas, mate.
Merry Christmas.
Disappointing, man, tonight. Lots to get into, but hey, listen, it happens. I think we're going to get a number of these this season, to be honest, but it is what it is, isn't it?
And then my right-hand man for these reactions, Mr. Spurs, Orion. Are you well?
Hello, everyone. always well. Very interesting game, as always. Yeah, yeah. Let's get going.
And also a big hello to everyone in the chat as well.
Yeah,
for joining us.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
First of all, let's get to the starting lineup. Right. So there was one direct change, but two positional changes. So we still had Vicario, we still had Porro. Emerson went centre back in because of Romero's injury. Ben Davis centre back. Udogie, Højbjerg came in because Skip's injured. Sarr, Johnson, Kulu, Son, and Richarlison. Ian, I'm going to start with you. You saw that lineup.
Yeah.
What kind of performance was you expecting?
Well, I wasn't expecting that.
Mm-hmm.
That's for certain. I mean, look, we're all on social media. We're all in various Spurs groups, etc., and we all read what's said on Twitter and what have you. And I see the clamour for the likes of Phillips and the likes of Dorrington to start. And I'm going to suggest that 90% of those people haven't seen either of them play. So with this, I have great faith in Ange, but you have to say, it didn't work tonight. It didn't work anywhere near well enough. Royale's positioning was shocking. He kept thinking he was a fullback, and that was putting the others out of position. I mean, you look at the first goal. It started with Royale going into a right back position. Udogie then went into the centre to cover the position that he was left out of, and the ball went over the top and bang, we concede. But I was saying about the positivity. I made a couple because I know you want to bring the others in and what have you, and I can listen to the dulcet Belfast tones all night. So, I just don't know why he persists with PEH. One, he's been told he can leave the club, and it seems he's on his way to Juventus. Secondly, he just doesn't suit the system. I'd have so much rather he played Sarr deeper and played Lo Celso further forward. Chris P, just seeing that. I mean, to me, that just made total sense, even though, Lo Celso was responsible for the tackle that conceded the second penalty. I think it's one of those games we hopefully look back on and say that was the point that the manager and the directors worked out that there are probably 4 or 5 players that were involved tonight that aren't good enough to play for Tottenham Hotspur. And from that, we'll maybe bring in players. It won't all be done this window, but hopefully in the next couple of windows, you can name players. Gill's not going to make it. Højbjerg isn't going to play well in this system. Royale he's certainly not He's certainly not a central defender, and if anything, we could do better as a make weight right back. But some positives. The Son was dreadful tonight. I have to say he had a touch of a donkey tonight. But Velith, that was impressive. Velith was impressive. Looked good. I've got a target man. And if Richarlison kept going offside, at least he's hitting the target with regularity. So, anyway.
Tops,
hear from some others.
Yeah. Tops, let me bring you in. Starting lineup. We'll probably miss we're missing the same amount of people as Brighton. Brighton have probably got more first teamers out. We should have more quality. Why the bad performance?
Why the bad performance? I mean, there's a number of reasons I think it's bad performance. I think essentially the system relies on personnel, specific personnel of a specific quality, and when I say quality, I really do mean technical quality. This is probably another game that's driven home why there's some players in the squad that just not that they're not good enough to play at Premier League level, but they're just not at the required level to play the way that Ange wants to play, and I feel that's one of the reasons. I actually think we were second best today. I didn't think we were at it. I didn't think we were like locked in. I didn't think we were concentrating. I felt like everything that there was to be won, Brighton were there for us. Like, you know, and it's remarkable because we talk about our team being such a low sort of average age, but you had players like Dunk and Milner and Welbeck having the time of their lives today. So I just felt that like a little bit. I don't want to say naivety, but I just feel like we could have been a bit more locked in. I didn't think that we were as locked in. And the third reason, I really do believe this, is that the match was on edge. I feel like we were both going for it in the sense that it was machine for machine. They tried to put us into traps. We tried to put them into traps. We gave two really daft mistakes away to give them goals, and then chances that we created for ourselves, which we did a lot in the first half, we just didn't take. And honestly, at the top level, that will always be the difference. If you're not clinical enough and if you don't make the mistakes, I actually largely think for a long time this season, we've kind of cut out a lot of these mistakes, but today they reared their head. And the chances, again, no matter how you look at it, as a group, clinically, as like attacking group, I just don't think we're there yet. I just don't think we're, with the amount of chances that we create, we are as clinical a team as we should be. Like today, again, we had 19 shots. They had 15 shots. However, 9 of their shots were on target and only 3 of ours were on target. So automatically, you're already looking at, we're getting the regularity of chances, but we're just not being clinical and effective in front of goal.
All right, let me bring you in. Now, me and you have always had this argument, right? I've always said, and both of them have both said it tonight, if the players are not good enough to be here, you can't coach them. It don't matter who the coach is, you can't coach them. Has it again proven, because I think I brought this up to you a couple of weeks ago, that if you've got bad players at the club, they're not good enough, or they're not good enough for the system, it doesn't work. It doesn't matter what coach you bring in. You could bring in Conte, Mourinho, Pochettino, and now Big Ange. If they're not good enough, it's not going to happen, is it?
Yeah. Though the thing is, though, it's like when I saw the lineup, I didn't expect Spurs to win. Like the moment, because on I think it was on Tuesday, I said Spurs were going to win, but I didn't know that Romero was going to be out. And as soon as Romero was out, and I saw the lineup with Pierre, I said Spurs aren't going to win, because what Ange's system demands is pass and move. That's what it demands. Now, the personnel is not there, but I personally believe that if a player is keen enough to just pass and then move, which is, if we've all played football, we're drilled at pass, move. Don't just pass and stand there. Pass and move, and that's what Brighton did. That's all Brighton did over Spurs. Like there was a moment with centre back where Brighton centre back passed the ball, ran beyond. Whereas when it came to Spurs, they didn't have that. You know, I think Emerson tried it, and like he actually crossed the ball. But like Topman was saying there, it falls down to that too much passing, far too much passing when just shoot. And that was the difference between, again, Brighton and Spurs. Milner cuts in, he'll take a shot. Welbeck takes a shot. They're not afraid to take shots. But it seems at Spurs, it's like, I can take a shot, but I'd rather pass. You know, they want to look at that. Maybe it's like they haven't quite got the fact that, yes, in training we're preparing this, but on the match day, take a shot. If you can't take a shot, Richarlison scored 2 goals, he was offside. So on the whole, it was just, when I watched the match, I was just thinking, right, Brighton are just passing a movement and they're not afraid to take shots. I mean, their third goal, you haven't seen, like, when was the last time you saw a long range shot other than James Maddison, but a shot like that from a Spurs player in the last 2 years? It doesn't happen. And yeah, you're right. I think the personnel, these players just don't want to, I don't know, have faith or belief in themselves, and it just affects them. And I think, like, I'm not all players had bad game, but I always think that with the likes of Pierre, he's with Basama, he sets a tempo, and if you don't have him, Bentancur will set the tempo. Pierre doesn't set tempos. He's not a controller. So you can see that when the ball went to Davies, he didn't know who to pass to. No one. Because and that was the thing. That was the big thing. And what we're seeing today, again, is what Spurs have been lacking every time they've lost. There's no passing and movement. And that's the Angie system. That's a football system. It's not a Conte system or Jose system. That's the basic, fundamental, every youth level kids are taught, pass and move, pass and move, pass and move. And that didn't happen. And Spurs lost. Simple as that.
Yeah. I mean,
Ian, before you get going, because I'm going to bring you in here, right? So let's just look at the first half, right? So we were 2-0 down, but we were quite lucky that it could have been probably 4 or 5. Brighton hit the woodwork 3 times. I think it was 3 or twice. I can't remember. And Vicario makes 2. Let's be honest, world-class saves, right? So we can look at the second half and go, "Oh, we had our chances," but in that first half, if Brighton take their chances, and as Top said, they had 9 shots on target compared to our 3, it could have been 5-0 at half time.
Oh, absolutely. And it papers over the cracks to some extent that it was only 2, and then from 4, instead of them going on and getting 5 or 6 that they might well have done, we get 2 back and are suddenly pummeling their goal. And actually, again, we've been profligate in front of goal all season. And again, we had 2 or 3 chances, probably another 2 or 3 half chances after that. You go on another day, you miraculously win 5-4, but it's not. It doesn't do justice to how good Brighton were, and particularly that save close in from Vicario from Welbeck was a true world-class save. I mean, an absolute world-class save. His anticipation and what have you was absolutely phenomenal. But I put Romero and Maddison in that team, and I think it's very different. I think we're papering over the cracks, but we do have a lot of players out. What we know is the players
you say we had a lot of players out, but so did Brighton.
Yeah, I'm not over interested in Brighton.
Yeah, but you're saying tonight, all the other games, I give it the excuse, but Brighton have got the same amount of players out. Why are they able to play? Why aren't we able to play?
We had 5, 6 starters out. Did they have 5 or 6 starters out?
They did.
Okay.
Ian, today was an even playing field. This is why the result stinks a little bit more.
Okay. I didn't realise. I knew they had injuries. I didn't realise. I'm sort of tend to be looking just at us and thinking we're the only team. Oh, apart from Newcastle. I know Newcastle have got it bad as well.
But Brighton's starting lineup tonight was just as hit as ours. So we can't say if they have Matoma and I can't remember, and even Evan Ferguson actually starting, it could be a different contrast. So this is an even playing field tonight. So we can't use if we had Maddison, if we had this. Yes, we are good, but we have to have. I think from what we're all saying, we have to have good backup. We haven't got.
No, you're right, and I think Oren makes a really, really important point that all football teams successful teams depend on the ability to pass the ball properly. But the Ange system, as much as anything I've ever seen, totally requires players in the middle, particularly in the middle of the field, to be able to pass accurately. And we just don't have that. And I think that's the point, is the backup players. You can say but Brighton's backup players were far better than ours.
And they shouldn't be, really.
No, you're right, they shouldn't be. But then this is something that we know that's been going on, 4 years, and there hasn't been enough change. There hasn't been enough. There's been attempts at evolution of the squad when there should have been revolution in the squad. I'm still hoping we're going to bring 3 or 4 in, then we get the players back, and then we maybe do another couple in the summer. I don't think it should all be all doom and gloom, but I think this was, a reality check for all of us, that we're not quite as good as we think we are. And I think Ange will know the players he needs to play the kind of football he wants to play. And there's a few there. Johnson isn't setting the heather on fire. Decky is a really, really good player. I'm still not persuaded that he's an Ange Ball type player.
Decky?
Yeah.
That's quite surprising. That's quite surprising because, the reason I'm just going to, because why it's surprising for me that you say that is, hasn't he got the most minutes?
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely. And I might be totally wrong. I'm just looking when when we get the ball into the final third, the ball is moved with real pace, with really quick players in every position. That's how it was under Celtic.
Yeah.
There's talk of Jota coming in, who played on the right. Maeda, the Japanese, played on the left. They're lightning quick.
But you say Celtic, but you say Celtic, but he also, so from what we're saying, right, and I want to bring Tops in a second on this as well, but at Celtic, he used a lot of the younger members of the squad. He hasn't done that here.
No. But
so that's why it surprised me. You just said Kulu isn't his type of player, but Kulu's got the most minutes, and yet he hasn't used any of the young players at all.
No. But
during this injury crisis,
and I see that Chris Peters comment, and there was stuff before the game about we should be playing Phillips, we should be playing Dorrington. I've not seen them play, and the manager has, but there's no getting away from the fact that particularly Royale Davis was probably the best of the back four, to be honest, and the rest of the two fullbacks were good on the ball, but were less convincing without it. There's a lot of work to be done. There is a serious amount of work to be done. My point about Decky is just the way he cuts aside, brings the ball down, and slows the game down. He's a great player. He is a good player. And it might be Ange sees it completely differently. So, completely differently. But as I say, might be interesting if we do get 3-4 in this window. That might change it a bit.
We're never getting 3 or 4. We'll be wishing. But Tops, I just quickly wanted to bring you in because you said something tonight in our group, and you said there was probably no positives tonight. But wasn't the big positive tonight is that we saw all the players tonight that can't play this system?
No, I don't think that's a positive because honestly, I think he learned that at Fulham away in the cup. I'm all for these managers at this level being able to do what they do because they get paid to do what they do and they have the experience of doing what they do. Top managers, they don't need to change their style, and I've always been behind this notion. Top managers do not need to change their style. It is up to the players to be able to take on what the manager provides them in terms of tactical awareness, in terms of their positioning, in terms of how you structure them. And a lot of the time, most managers have the ability to be able to play the way they want to play without having to compromise. Maybe they can make some tweaks, but they don't have to compromise how they play. Mm-hmm. And for me, watching us play this season, I finally believe that we are now playing a attacking, progressive, sustainable style of football. And honestly, this will probably more so drive home the fact that this is actually more personnel driven than system driven, because clearly there's lots of different metrics you can use to show that we are playing better. We're sustaining pressure in the final third. We're creating more chances. We're shooting more. We're actually giving ourselves a better chance in games than opposed to last season. However, it is clear to see that this team still isn't in. I don't want to say in his image, but it's still not the team that he wants it to be. And honestly, like
I
I
agree.
can't be
You know
too
what?
negative.
I do actually agree with that. I actually, do you know what? And it is, and I think we've been a lot of us Spurs fans right now because we had such a great start, and then everything that's
And this
happened.
is it.
Yeah,
This is it, Marlon. Like a lot of fans don't realize that we are way further than we should be with this current group. And people need to understand that until we get the players that we need to get, and we are comfortable with those players, and Ange's had the windows that we need. Because I really do believe we need 2, 3, 4 windows in order for us to get to that point. But I feel like we can't take these sort of like this sort of position where we are for granted. I feel like at the moment, tonight was a bad game. It was. There was nothing really that positive to take from it. And I honestly don't think that he will learn any more about some of the players. I think it will just drive home maybe some of the things that he's taught. And a lot of these players who we kind of want to move on, at least we can say in the next window or the window after that, these guys will be gone. I mean, I like, as a Spurs fan, I hate losing, but I am looking at the bigger picture with this. And if it means we're going to have 3 games winning and 1 game's going to be bad, I'm happy to take that because I can still feel that this process is sustainable. There is some level of progression with what we're doing.
Yeah, agreed.
Orion.
Sorry, I went off, Marlon. By the way,
Fine.
all of a sudden my sound went.
So, don't worry.
Yeah.
Orion, just quickly, I want to bring you in quickly, right? So they've both said players not good enough. Hopefully there's something going forward that we can see a positive here right now. January's around the corner. You've always said it can't be fixed in 1 window. How are we going to... do you think the board, considering how they've acted in the past, are going to be able to help Ange and get to where he needs to get to and make us see the promised land?
Yeah, it's that because like I was laughing there when you said about Brighton having as much injuries as Spurs, and Newcastle has as much injuries as Spurs. Yes, Brighton had as much injuries as Spurs, absolutely bang on. But Spurs have the 2 injuries that Brighton didn't have, centre backs. If Romero had started today, it wouldn't have been that way. We've seen what happens.
But
So-
you're saying that we've got 3 centre backs sitting on the bench.
No, but we all know that they're not good enough. That we know that, like Spurs, like
I get that.
because fans will say this, but when Spurs were on a 10 game, it was kind of like, right, they knew that as well. Good. So the question is, will Spurs get a centre back? I do believe they'll get a centre back in January for sure. They've probably already started the process. It's going to get done. This is a whole new way of dealing with things. It's no longer sort of like, let's wait and go and get a player just for the sake of it. They've already started that. So I do think that the board will back. They definitely will back Angie because, like I said in the previous stream, Angie's not going to go and say, right, get me that player. He's going to cost 70 million, which means it's going to be haggling, hustling, back and forth. Because even if Spurs offers
That
70 million,
happens at 30 and 40 million pound players. They don't just happen at the big one.
What I'm saying is,
Torres a prime example.
That again, your Spurs fans have a tendency of basing it what happened before. Let's move on from that because
Why can't you? Because you have to base it on history.
So let's have a look. Okay,
you have to base
so
it
let's
on
have a
history.
look at what happened with Porro.
Because Van der Ven took all summer.
No, let's have a look. Okay, so let's go back to this. Fans think that a transfer is simple as I want that player.
No.
Here's money.
It's not.
It's not. No. So let me finish.
Yeah.
With Pero, the contract was signed and agreed. Sporting Lisbon decided to change their minds at the last minute. Pero decided he wasn't going to play for Sporting Lisbon. That's the only reason. So basically, if you look at Spurs transfers, Daniel Levy will go with an offer, and then they'll reach an agreement. Then the opposing club will go, you know what? Nah, we want more. Just if you think it's like if you go to buy a car and you agree a fee with the dealer, and then you go to him on that day with the money, and he goes, you know what? I want an extra $2,000 or something.
Happens with
what are
us
you going to
a lot,
do? Yes, but that's why I'm saying
that's happened with us a lot. Why?
No, but that's what I'm saying though. You cannot blame the Spurs or Daniel Levy if the other club decided the last minute they want more money. You can't blame them for that.
Okay,
So basically,
but I'm not. You're just using Porro as an example. I said
what
that,
I'm saying
look,
is,
we needed a defender. We needed a defender last summer. Van de Ven was only in a week before that season started.
yes, it was a week, but because it was back, it was trying to negotiate what would be the best price, and getting
So
40
there you
million.
go. There you go. But that's what's going to take.
Getting
That's what's
40
going to
million
take
for Van de
longer.
Ven, getting 40 million for Van de Ven is
So
a
that's
is
why.
a steal.
But that's why I'm saying I can base it off history, because if I look at the history of how we
Yes.
do transfers, it's going to
Yes,
take
but
ages.
look, yes, but the history
We
that is
identify.
remembered is
Look. Ange has already come out and said, right, and I'll move on from this in a second. But Ange has already come out and said he wants a defender, right?
yes,
He has said a couple weeks ago. He's come out on record and said it. Now,
yes,
there probably won't be a defender on the 1st of Jan. I'm not expecting it because I just know how Spurs operate, right? So I'm expecting the defender probably 28 days into it when we've had 2 or 3 games gone and we need a defender now, right? And that's
right.
the only
But
reason
what
why I'm
I'm
basing it off
saying,
history.
it's
I have
about
to be.
dealing.
I have to look at
It's about dealing with the club. So
Yeah.
it's about starting early because not Spurs aren't going for a defender who's on the bench. I would understand if Perry was on the bench. I would understand if Van de Ven was on the bench. They weren't getting game time. These are starting players. So even the player that Spurs are going for, the guy from Nice, he's a starting player and he's playing really, really good right now.
Mhm.
So Spurs have to go to Nice and go, right, here's an offer for a player that's probably one of your best players. Give him to us. Now, if you're a club and your best player, you're not going to go, aye, no worries. Yeah. You know what? You know what? We'll send him to Spurs right now. You know, and we'll take the money after. No, Nice then has to go out and buy a player who's going to be capable or the same level of the player they're selling.
Okay.
That's how it happens.
But I'm going to give you 2 examples there. Wolfsburg and Sporting Lisbon both bought a player last year, right? And Wolfsburg did it this year, early in the window, to replace Van de Ven and Porro. But
Yes,
it took us weeks.
Yes, but was that player the same standard as Van de Ven?
Yes, because that's what he was the replacement coming in. He wasn't. He's never
might
going
be the
to be.
replacement, but he's not.
But this is what I'm saying.
But why did Nice do that? Or why did Wolfsburg do that? Why did Wolfsburg go and buy a defender to replace Van de Ven?
Because they knew
that Van de Ven was going to leave.
But who? Yeah, they did.
Spurs.
But Spurs, the negotiation with Spurs took so long. Yeah, that it came to a point where a week before the season, and this is not what's ideal for anybody. Because the reason why I'm saying this, because with Ange, I feel sorry for him. Yeah, I felt sorry for him from the day dot, because he had the whole Kane issue to go with all summer. He wanted to defend earlier. He actually wanted 2 defenders, only got 1. Right, but let's talk about the second half quickly, right? Because we'll go on to transfers all day long. But I just wanted to bring that up because we've all said at one point, we've all said tonight that the players that played in that first half today are not good enough. Like, let's get into the second half, right? Why did it take us to the 81st minute to get anywhere close to being Spurs again? And I'm going to start with go on, Tops.
Something that I've kind of felt that is a little bit, it's starting to concern me more and more as I look at the way we play. I look at how our games are going. Is that what is so good about us is sometimes I think what is also holding us back. We start games with such an intensity, such a ferocity in our press, in our build-up, in our chasing the game to try and to get a goal. And I've just been looking at some of the games that we've playing recently, and I'm finding that in second halves, we seem to be fading. And the only reason I felt like today changed a little bit was because the guys that were on the pitch came off, and the guys that came on the pitch were actually positive in trying to get us up the pitch and trying to press, in trying to get us into attacking areas. So for once, I actually feel like Velis, like GLC, like Hill, they actually I think they made a positive difference today. And I think that's something that we need to kind of think about as well, because maybe I read something in the week that the way that they're training in order to play this way for Ange is also making a difference in terms of their fitness, and also maybe it's making them a bit more susceptible to injury. I'm not sure. But I think definitely the 3 players that came on, they probably came on too late, and obviously they probably came on too late and made too late of a difference. But I think maybe those substitutions, in my opinion, on sort of first look, I thought that should have been done at half time. I still can't.
Yeah.
I don't want to. I don't want to go into I don't want to go into a negative mode, but I won't continue. I won't continue to flog Richarlison because I just don't think he's good enough.
Yeah.
I just don't. I still feel, in my opinion, that Johnson isn't. It's just a very expensive squaddy. I don't think he's at the level to be a first teamer. And you can't really expect us to really build anything when all of our play is built in first phase centrally, and we don't have the ability to do so with Højbjerg at 6. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you tell me. I'm not. going to listen to you telling me about maybe play Skip there or maybe play Sarr there. But if you're going to start a game against a midfield of, let's be honest, Gilmore and Milner, and you still don't have the ability to break that first phase, then you know the issue isn't with them, it's with you. And I think that's kind of one of the biggest problems that we had. It just changed in the second half. It completely changed.
Ian, quickly, I wanted to bring you on in this, right? Because I remember this being a problem when I looked at Ange in the summer. And this might be one of the, well, it's probably the one negative I've said over weeks. And I keep asking the same question. Substitutions from Ange.
Yeah.
Why are they such a problem? Because Conte, I'm going to bring Conte, because Conte got abused for this, and I used to abuse him for it as well. He substitutes for poor, but Ange seems to be doing exactly the same. And
I've not understood the substitutions. I mean, at Celtic, I did. But at Celtic, he was making like-for-like substitutions.
Okay.
You know, he would take Katati off and bring Turnbull on. You know, similar type players in the same positions playing the same role. He would take Jota off and bring Abada on. A wide player.
But Ian, but when we were doing the things in the summer, we were talking about Ange, Celtics fans used to complain about his sub. I know you're saying they're like for like, but why is it? What is it? Why is he not learning from his mistakes?
I can't tell you. I mean, to me, at half time, it needed changing. It needed significant changing. He needed to shore up the back, and I think he needed to take Emerson off and bring in one of the accomplished central defenders. I would have taken Højbjerg off because I think he's just not good enough on the ball to play in an Ange system. I'd have put Sarr back, and he ended up taking Sarr off, and put Lo Celso on because we're desperately missing somebody in that final third that can pass the ball accurately. You look at the number of positions we get into where the final ball just isn't good enough, but the substitutions he ended up making, bringing Gil on. And who else did he take off at that time? He took Richarlison and Sarr off, and he brought on Gil and Lo Celso. That didn't make a lot of sense to me. He must have had a game plan, but I didn't get it. You know, maybe some better tacticians than me understand it, but I didn't get what he was at with that. And I'd rather have seen, if he's going to just let's give a game to someone. Given the boy Donnelly a game, because I just don't see Gil as being a Tottenham player. I think he's one of the players we've been talking about that just isn't going to make it at Tottenham. So move him on and let's see what the kids can do. And just out of someone said in the chat earlier, we only got one defender in. But to my mind, the biggest error, and I can understand why it was made, was getting rid of Sanchez, was letting Sanchez go without a replacement. I know Sanchez has got his faults, but
it's a Spurs thing to do, isn't it?
He's a significantly better defender than Dyer and Royale, and in that system, playing high up the field, he's got the pace to have. He's got the pace to have got out of some of the problems. I can understand why he went. I can understand if he says, look, these bastards, you know, boo me onto the field and cheer me off. I've got to get away. I absolutely get that. But we had to have had a replacement in, and we never had that replacement. Dyer would have been, I know people hate him, Dyer would have been a better option tonight. And this is the manager's decision making.
Yeah, did you watch him against Wolves?
I did watch him against Wolves, but Royal was all over the place. To me, Royal's positioning and trying to
No, I know. I do get it. No, I do get it. I'm joking around. I am joking around a little bit when I say it, but I'm looking at it going, but even with, I don't think it changes. I don't even if it changes that. But Oren, just quickly want to bring you in before I'm going to ask you all the last question because obviously January is around the corner. But Oren, I wanted to bring you on that last 10 minutes. Why all of a sudden did it suddenly click into gear? Were Brighton just completely flawed on their feet? Or was Spurs, as Klopp said, a bit more positive?
I mean, it was 3-0. It was 3-0. Brighton were up, and basically they relaxed after a bit. And they got the fourth goal as well, so I think even more relaxed. So I think that's basically it. Look, it's the Spurs, watching the game, it's easy to see why Spurs lost. And basically that's known. And I believe that, losing Romero, that's a big significant. Like, even when Romero came back, you saw the change that happened,
Of course.
Pierre playing, Skip was injured. Don't know how he gets injured. He was injured. And that's why Pierre started. And like I said, it's like everyone knows that the players, the backup, this is not even the backup. This is the third string they're using. Like Pierre wouldn't be starting if Bentancur and Bissam wasn't suspended. Bentancur was there. He wouldn't be starting. And I think like what Angie wants, and Angie said this, what Angie says, it's like, yes, we'll give him the platform, but it's up to the players to make the decisions on the pitch. And there's a lot of players with poor decision making. I think Johnson has poor decision making when it comes to things. Kulusevski, I'm fully convinced that when he's fatigued, he's mentally tired, he makes bad decisions. Song stuttering, and as soon as that happens, it flows through the entire team. It just goes through their entire team. Touching the ball a couple of times, like Kulusevski putting Richarlison through. When I was watching, it was like, right, pass now. No, it's too late. So I think it's a case of what Brighton did really well was they made Spurs individuals. That's what they did. And that's how you beat a team like Angie's system. You make them individuals. You make the players come out into themselves and not, like I said, pass and move and have that confidence and determination. And look, Spurs had their chances. Some were half chances. Goals were, scored from offside positions. As for the defender, Sanchez leaving, it was weird, but come on, I was not surprised. The guy, confidence-wise, being booed on, cheered on, like Ian said, he was going to go. And Angie even said it. Like, Angie could have said, no, we'll keep him. But he says, no, let you go. And now in January comes, and you're going to get into that next. That's where it's going to get the team fixed. And you cannot, it's not an excuse as such, but yeah, Spurs are missing significant players. And they're, for the last 2-3 months, they've been using their third backup players. Like I said, Pierre, it must be Irish somewhere, because whenever he seems like he's not going to play again, a player gets injured. Bentancur comes back, Pierre was never going to start. He gets injured. But Sama comes back, okay, Bentancur or Pierre's up. He gets decided, I'm going to get sent off because I just want to give him a Pierre. Do
you know what? It's quite funny you say that, right? Do you think it's because Pierre can't actually play Angie's system, so doesn't get the risks of the yellow cards, doesn't get the risks of getting injuries, so that just means that he's always going to be ready available because he can't significantly play that role?
Yeah, it's very clear that he can't. It's very clear he can't play that role. Though. I mean, it's more than clear. Like he's not press resistant. He's not a high volume passer. He doesn't have the range of passing, and he doesn't even have the dynamism as a single pivot six. When I look at him, I just don't think he has any of the characteristics that are actually required. Like the guy gets dribbled past, he gets beaten on the ball all the time, and then when you're actually on the ball, is he press resistant? No. Can he find those passes to beat the first press? No. Is he even courageous enough to take it off the two who he knows are going to be struggling to make those first phase passes? No. So you're looking at all these different things. So you're just looking at him and being like, you're just a sixth. who's not very good at being the 6 that we want him to be. And this is where we're at. This is literally where we're at with him.
So, Tops, before I come to the other two, I'm going to this is going to be the last question. January's around the corner. You've obviously watched tonight.
Yeah.
Which 2 positions? Yeah, you're only going to get 2 signings. Right?
Yeah.
Which 2 positions are your priority at this present moment? Knowing the fact you're going to get Maddison back and the Ven back, you know you're going to get them back.
Yeah.
Which 2 positions do you think we need cover for the rest of the season?
It's very easy. A starting level centre back.
Yep.
I don't even care.
And by the way, I want to just throw one caveat, and you got to remember we are going into January, so
I don't mind. I do not mind. I want a starting level centre back. It can be right or left. I don't care. It has to be starting level. I feel like if we put ourselves to the market and say, oh, we want a right-sided or left-sided, we close our options. And to be honest with you, we've actually done some good work in January. So a centre back who is at starting level. I'm looking at 2 that I already think that we should just go all out for and try to make it happen.
You're going to mention names? Who you think?
Yeah, John Clare Todibo, definitely one of them. 100% one of them. And I think, having done some work today on a Patreon that I'm doing, I think Radu Draguzin, who's at Genoa, would be a very good option as well. So those 2, I think, are more than capable. I think the other position, I think, is centre forward. I actually feel at the moment at the club we have a striker issue, and that striker issue is mainly around Son, because I feel like Son is only one type of striker. He's a poacher. But at the moment, because we're lacking the build up in first phase, and we're lacking like a Maddison to find those passes to him, he's basically getting near or nothing. And the problem is that you don't want to then put him out wide, because you now have a player who's not very good at one-on-one, and when he is out wide, doesn't create enough chances for himself or for others, to enough regularity. So for me, I think we have to buy a striker who is someone who is they are dynamic, but they have to be a presence in the box. They have to be able to create goals for themselves, and they have to be able to link well. Because I think lots of these different things Son just cannot do. I don't think Richarlison is technically good enough to be able to do this stuff. And I think while Velis is positive, he's still so young and inexperienced at this level to be able to put all of that on his back. So for me, it has to be a striker and a centre back. It has to be.
Ian, I'm giving you 2 positions to cover.
Yeah. Well,
which positions are you going for?
Yeah.
Or you can say 2 centre backs. You can say 1, but 2.
I could. The central defender is a no-brainer. I mean, anyone who thinks we don't need another central defender, simply hasn't been watching us for the last.
This is why I've given you 2, because I'm assuming we're going to sign 1.
I suspect we only need to sign 1 as well, unless cut 2 or 3 are going out the door. We certainly need to sign 1. I'm betwixt whether we need another midfield player. I mean, someone's in the chat there said we need a better quality number 6. I mean, if they're letting PEH go, and it seems they are, and we haven't got Bissouma, and we haven't got Bentancur, and we haven't got Sarr, they must have somebody to play that deep-lying midfield role. They must.
So, Ian, on that note, but the reason why I'm throwing it, because all of those players are rumoured to be back, I think, basically by the Brentford game. So theoretically, they should only miss 2 games that we're going to be without Sarr, Bissouma. Well, Sarr and Bissouma could be gone for a while, but I'm talking about Bentancur and the others, and Skip as well. So if you think we need another number 6, would you put it there, or would you put it elsewhere?
Well, then there's still a case. You see, if Bentancur's back, I think the beauty of Bentancur is he can play in the 6 or he could play in the 8 further forward. I think he's got the ability to do that. I'm betwixt and between on this, on whether we need 1 more in midfield or whether we need another one up front. I think we certainly, if we could get a real good, strong target centre forward, then I think if 1 was available, you've got to look at what's available as well. Personally, I think we might be getting 3 or 4. You can write that down, Marlon. You can write that down, because I think that we might get Jota on loan as well. And I'm worried about Johnson at the moment. Jota would make a big difference on that right-hand side. There is when Song goes out left, is he that effective? Richarlison's looked good the last few games, but yeah, I mean, a good old-fashioned centre forward, the Martin Chivers type would be absolutely superb. But the reality is, throughout that squad, and I'm ducking your question because definitely a centre half, and I'm 50-50 if I've only got two on whether I'm going for a target man centre forward or another quality midfield player. I'm absolutely betwixt and between on that. So that's where I'm hedging my bets a wee bit. But you can call me back in February. I think there'll be four players coming in this window.
Four.
Okay.
Oren. Yeah, Oren. I'm gonna you. Who are we? How it's going to take 28 days, 29 days for us to get them over the line. But what two positions do you think? Do you think we'll get two positions? Is one question. Are you with Ian? Will we get four? Or
I don't think four. I think it's kind of like it will be two for sure, and I think it's going to be obviously a centre back for sure. That's everyone knows that, and I do agree with Top Shot there, like a striker, like Richarlison's a top-end merchant. I think Song, yes, he is a player that is a poacher, but I do think Song down the middle. I don't know why. I think,
we're gonna swap roles here a little bit. Do you think we can get the quality in January for a striker?
What do you mean?
So
get the quality.
So you basically said earlier, right, that when it comes to January, it's all about you're gonna have to go out and buy a first team player who's a striker and this, that, and the other. But my question is to you: when it comes to strikers, they're very rare at the moment. Are Spurs going to be able to get the quality striker that we need to take us forward in January? And this is me. We're doing the opposite now, and that's why I'm asking you this question. Because I don't think we can, and that's why I wouldn't go for the striker. I'd wait till the summer where a team can go get a replacement.
Yeah, understandably. The question is though, what do I think Spurs need to get? And the answer is I think it needs to get a striker. Whether or not Spurs get a striker, it's up to Spurs.
But what do you want in January? This is what I'm asking, and what I'm trying to do is because we're still trying to be realistic in all this, right? The reason why a central defender is realistic, right? Because as Tops mentioned, there's Tobido, Dragson, there's Tosin Adebayo, and there's Lloyd Kelly. There's 4 defenders there already. 2 of them were linked in the summer, so I'm expecting at least one of those to come through the door. But when asking for a striker, and this is the one time I'm actually on Spurs' side and I'm on the ball side being really realistic here. You're not, unless you're going to sit there and buy Tony for 80 million, which I don't think is the right thing to do right now. Well, it might be what Spurs think it is to do, and if it's back in hand, okay. But are you going to get the quality in January for a striker that we're going to need for long term? Because this is not just because it's going to be this is going to be not Kane's replacement, but this is going to be the long term replacement for that forward line. And as we can all see, and as we've all mentioned, Son can't do it because he's a poacher. Felice is too young. Richarlison, we've all said it's not good enough, and he's shown us 2 games this season where, maybe, but then he's gone and done exactly what he's done all season today. So my question is to you, yes, they might need it, but is it realistic?
More than likely, it's not realistic. Though it wouldn't surprise me if Spurs got a winger in, because I do believe that Song could play in the middle if he has service. Every striker needs service. Doesn't matter who they are. They need quality service. And I think that what's happened with Spurs, Ange's system is about the wingers creating havoc, overlaps, underlaps, those sort of things. And I think at the moment, they don't have that. And let's not forget, Johnson can play down the middle as well. And I think maybe it would actually suit Johnson to play.
I get what you mean, yeah. He just can't
down the middle, because John, like the way I look at it is that you're looking for, the thing is with Song playing in the wing, Johnson playing in the wing, they have to create chances. So it looks like they're limited just to that, right? We're just going to create chances. Richarlison does the same thing. Now, those three players, they're not known for the creating chances. Johnson's not known for creating chances, assists. So I think with Spurs, it's going to be, if they can get a winger. I mean, Chiesa has been thrown around, Jota's been thrown around. If they can get even a Jota in, that's a winger who can provide those assists. That would help. I think it's looking at the dynamic. Now, the other, what's the striker from Juventus? I forgot it. I can't pronounce his name. Spurs
Ealing,
were
the Ealing's junior one you're talking about. I think
no, he's from Juventus. What do you call him?
Oh, Valovic.
Yes, they were looking at him. I think it was 68 million or something. It's going to be interesting because does Daniel Levy has a chance to go right? The feel-good factor's still there, still there. Even though Spurs doing it, let's do something. Let's finally do something. I think with Jose Mourinho, Conte, they were arrogant, they were dicks, they were just who they are. Angie's shown right. This is what I want, and
but
maybe
you know what you say. So you say that, right? But I think Ange is not a dick about it, but he has an arrogancy about him as well.
Yes, but
because the football's all pretty, is it because we're allowing this arrogancy now?
No. Angie, it's not about arrogancy. Angie is saying to Daniel Levy, not bringing down the club. He's saying, this is what has to happen. But the thing is, in the background, Spurs have, it's not like Angie's saying this and then Spurs are looking to get guys in to do this. Spurs have brought two guys in, specifically go on scout and look for what Angie wants. That's, to me, was a statement from Daniel Levy. It's like, yes, he has to make this decision. He's determined, but he's got two guys in who's there to look at those players. And Paratici, he's still there. He's still in the background, doing his thing. He might be suspended, but I think I was listening to Alistair Gold and he's at the games. He's still there. So I do believe that Tottenham, for the first time, have a system where it's like, okay, look at these players, identify these players, scout these players, and make contact with the club that we are looking for them. So that's what Spurs are doing.
So what we've been doing for the last 23 years, not doing that?
They haven't been doing that. It's been going on again. This player. That's the thing. That's what I'm saying. It's so this season, the whole club, Daniel Levy has learned from his mistakes. He's learned from it.
We hope.
And it's kind of like, it's still difficult, but it'll be getting done. But he'll know there's something back. But Daniel Levy has finally gone, right, get two players in who know about football, who will scout players, who will go for these players and look at it. That's what he's done. So in you can hope, but like the thing is as well, you have to play in mind. And Angie said it perfectly because yes, he was asked about two centre backs when he got one. And yeah, I think the reporter at the time was trying to stir the pot. And he's like, look, it's not Amazon. You can't just go on Amazon and get a defender straight away. There's a lot to take into consideration. Like I said before, going to the club. Does the player want to come to the club? Does he want to move his family over? I don't think what I would like, it would never ever happen. But what I would like is for Daniel Levy to go, right, I'm going to get a Spurs fan from the Spurs club and you're going to walk through, shadow me and see exactly how transfer goes. Just so you can have a full understanding of all the details, the small details done. But just because it's not easy.
Question, Oren. I'm really hoping though, because you asked a couple of questions there, I'm really hoping the club don't do it in January the 1st and go, oh, let's go and see if the player wants to move. Hopefully they've done it in the last 6 months.
Yes, I'm sure they have. And that's why I think that's also the reason why I think Spurs are going to attract young players who don't have families to bring over, because that's a lot more difficult. And the guy from Nice, again, Spurs are looking at that player. They've made.
Well, they're going to go find out if he's got children and stuff, and be like, "Oh no, forget you."
No, it's because it's a lot more difficult. Like I think with Harry Kane, his family's still living in England, but he's mature enough. You know what I mean? But what I'm saying, like Bastoni, the reason why Bastoni didn't want to come to Spurs, he just had a baby with his girlfriend. He was happy in Italy, so it's because this is not bringing in the player to then get a starting time. That's not the issue with Spurs, especially with a centre back. They have to bring in a player who hits the ground running, not walking, not running. So
So
I think
is that down? Do you think so? Are we at that point now that we have to get someone? This is going to be my last question. All right.
yeah.
Do you think we're at that point because of how bad the recruitment's been in the past that we have to make sure now they're hitting the ground running because we've made so many bad recruitments, manager appointments because we've been circulating with managers as well because that's also a problem where we brought in their players and mismatch. Where let's be honest, it's been badly run in a lot. Like after Poch, it has been mismanaged and badly run to a point now that, like you're saying, we now have to bring in signers like Benton Court and Kulusevski to a certain extent who have to hit the ground running.
Well, with even Poch, it was disastrous because you have to remember when Poch first came in, they had Paulinho, Salgado, all these players, and Poch. When Poch first came in, he had to get look who Poch brought through. He brought in Ericsson. He brought in younger players, fresher players. He got rid of Paulinho.
Ericsson was here before. Yeah, Ericsson was here before that, though.
But you know what I mean? It's like it was young players who wanted to play for the team. So that's the case. It's a case of no longer bringing in players who are just at Spurs to wear the shirt and say, I'm at Spurs, flash, take an Instagram photograph. It has to be a player who comes in like Odegi, perfect example. Sarr, perfect example. These are players who want to play. Maddison, big change. Maddison came to Spurs. He was determined. None of that image-based thing. Benton Court is seen.
He's got a family there.
Yes, but Maddison didn't come from a foreign club. He came from England. So,
but anyway,
I think Kulusevski just had a kid. Benton Court just had a kid. So,
on that note, Ian, prediction for Sunday quickly, and then
we're at home to Bournemouth.
Yep. Who are on form?
Oh yeah, 3-1.
And no Kulu.
I think we can survive without Kulu. We can play Johnson, Richarlison, and Richarlison, and Son up front. I don't think that's going to be a huge problem. Might be a bigger problem inside.
Same back four.
I have to start Lo Celso inside. 3-1 Tottenham.
Tops. Predictions. What are you going for Sunday?
Yeah, it's going to be a comfortable win for me. I think they're in good form, but I just don't think they're as good a side as us. And at home, I think we've been a lot more improved recently. I'm not too worried about it. I think
I would have said tonight was more comfortable than Bournemouth because of our home form's not really been great.
I just feel like right now for me, the only person that's going to really cause some real problems is Solanke. But outside of that, they don't have the strength in their squad to play and do what Brighton did today. Like the one big issue I had with today was that I feel that we both set up very similarly, but we didn't execute well. And even though they had 9 players out, we had 9 players out. They executed really well, and that's why I think they won today. I don't think Bournemouth are that good a side, and generally, I think in this league, the table doesn't really lie either. So,
Orion Sunday, and you'll be back on this, so I'll make sure that whatever you say will be clipped.
I think it's going to be tricky. I do think so. I think he might have to start Dyer because Brighton, they might not play Bournemouth might not play like Brighton, but the way Bournemouth play is, aggressive. They're big, high balls into the air. They will make it dirty, and I just think that Bournemouth will go with a plan just to make it dirty, ruffle up the Spurs players, and it wouldn't surprise me if it's a draw. And I don't expect Spurs to blow them away as such. I think Brighton are in the momentum, and I think it's just a case of Angie might just have to bite the bullet and start with Dyer because Bournemouth will have those big players, especially corners and throw-ins and things like that. I think it's going to be that system, but I don't think it's going to be easy. Like I said, I do think Burnley will just go there and muscle Spurs out of the game as much as possible, create fouls, slow the game down, play real ugly football. I'm going to go for a draw at home. Yeah. If I'm wrong, great.
I'm hoping you're wrong because I want to win no matter what. But no, thank you all, Ian. first of all, thank you, and go find your Twitter is in your handle. Orange
Yeah.
Mr. Spurs 9 on Twitter, and Tops is, I think you're Are you Tops on Twitter as well?
You're mute. You're mute. Mute.
Sorry, that's my handle, and the touchline fracas one as well.
Yeah, and don't forget to follow New Spurs Order on YouTube, Touchline Fracas. Please go over there and give the guys well support. They're always on this channel, a lot of them as well. So, but Tops, thank you for coming on tonight.
No problem. Thank you, man.
Appreciate it. And the reason why I was enjoyed that you three came on is because you're really positive about Spurs right now. So it's quite interesting to get you lots of view on it and actually and how different it was. But no, thank you all. It's been an absolute pleasure. I'm back on Sunday for the Bournemouth reaction with Mr. Spurs again. He doesn't know it, but he's on again. But we're not sure if we're going to have a preview this week. But yeah, catch us back on Sunday, probably around 7:30, 8 o'clock for the reaction to Bournemouth. But as always, trust the Ange, and come on you Spurs.
Come on you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.